All right, we welcome you to the ninth inning of Daryl and Diller. No, just kidding. Mindset Matters, a mental health series from WellSpan Health. And Dr. Michael Diller with me, as always, Daryl Henry here in the WOYK studios. Mike, first of all, Merry Christmas to you as we record this. It's 2 days before Christmas. People will be watching it and listening to it just a few days after the new year. So hopefully the change of the calendar continues to bring hope for people. And hopefully everybody listening and watching had a great holiday season and as stress-free as possible and are feeling well. And good to have everybody with us here tonight.
Yeah, Daryl, I just want to say that was good. The Daryl and Diller show. We were talking about Greeny and Golick on the ESPN show that we both loved. So we're not Greeny and Golick, but it's been awesome to be able to be here with you and with the listeners and the viewers. Merry Christmas to you as well. As you said, when this gets aired, we're hopeful that the new year brings peace and joy and good health throughout the new year. So we're looking forward to that. And today we're at the top of the ninth. Again, it's been awesome and wonderful to be with you and be with the listeners and the viewers. And I look forward to our conversation today as we work through our ninth inning, my friend.
Yeah. This will make it a complete game, but and kind of along the same lines of the calendar switching to 2021, it doesn't automatically mean that the pandemic's over and that we're out of the woods, but it is another thing to look at as, another step, another benchmark of getting, hopefully to some better times in that regard. But as it pertains to this is the final episode. This wasn't done just because of COVID. I think the change in our schedules gave us the opportunity to do this. But while this is the ninth inning today, it's very important to me to let people know that the conversation doesn't stop here. And I know you and I are hoping to partner up on some future endeavors. And I know I'm going to do everything I can to continue to be a voice on this issue. And for those listening, obviously, you can always go back and listen to previous episodes, but this final episode of this series doesn't mean that this is where it ends. This is an ongoing thing that the more we talk about it, the more we strike out that stigma. And hopefully, the whole purpose of this series was to try to inspire as many people as we could to feel empowered, to talk about it if they're struggling, get help if they need, and to not feel that, sense of uncomfortability that, for so many years because of stigma, I think has come with this.
Yeah. I think I couldn't say it any better than that, Daryl. I think that, today we'll talk a little bit. I want to hear from you as well, because from the beginning, I was so inspired by the fact that you said, hey, I would love to be able to share a little bit of my story, that of which you had never part of it. You've never shared with what you have gone through in being able to work through some of the depression and anxiety that we've talked about that have been a part of your life. But that has, to me, opened up the conversation that absolutely this will be a complete game, but it does not mean it's over. It's only the start of the conversation. So, in some of these takeaways, we'll talk a little bit more about them today, but we really want people to know. We wanted them from the beginning to know that they're not alone, that they should never feel that way. But sometimes it may feel that way, but also to know that there is hope out there in terms of resources and things that we can do to make sure that they don't continue to feel like that and struggle in isolation. No one should ever feel like they're on an island. And this other message that it's okay sometimes that we're not going to be at our best. It's okay to, we talked a little bit about this, one of our earlier episodes, and Michael Phelps had talked about this and talked about, what he came to realize was that sometimes it's okay to not be okay, but that we can do something about it. And sometimes we absolutely need to do that. So great to be here today. And this will not be, even though this will go down in the books as a complete game, the last one.
Nope, not even close, but it's been very rewarding. And I'm super proud of what we've done here together. And, um, a lot of these episodes, we would go into it with a general idea of the topic, and eventually we would cover a lot of the main things that go along with mental health. And I think we've done that to this point. Today we're going to kind of drive home some of the main takeaways, and kind of encapsulate those main points into one final episode. And one thing that comes to mind, Mike, right off the bat, that I think is important to remember is, let's say somebody worked up the courage to make the call and go to their first therapy appointment. Let's say they've gone through that, and they leave the appointment and they think to themselves, well, I don't feel better yet. I think it's very important, and this has been the case in my experience. This takes time. And I was watching a video yesterday. I was a former Olympic athlete, Olympic runner, and her message had a lot to do with the crash that came after the Olympics for her. But one of the things that stuck with me, the way that she described her depression, it was worded just perfectly. She said it was like a scratch on the brain, like a brain injury. It wasn't a literal like impact brain injury, but just like, and we've used this example, just like a pulled hamstring or something like that, it takes time to heal. It takes some therapy to heal. You've got to go through the steps, and it doesn't necessarily happen in one session. So it takes treatment. It takes time. Treatment is the word I was looking for. And I just want people to understand that, for me, I've been going to therapy for over a year now, and I see no signs that I don't expect to stop anytime soon. I think that's part of my game plan indefinitely. So the point is, it takes time. Don't lose your patience or your focus and kind of that goal ahead. If you don't feel that right away, because it does take time, and it takes some work. It really does.
Yeah. No, I think that's a big point to make, and I appreciate you making it. I've talked to many others. I remember I was in a conversation one time with a couple care team providers, some docs and nurses, and the one doc had shared that they had been in counseling and said what was helpful to this person, to this doc, was what they realized was after that first session, to your point exactly, they didn't feel much different. They said, I didn't feel that much better. But what they did was they stayed the course. They hung around for a little bit longer. And then they did realize that eventually they felt better, but it wasn't instant. It wasn't instantaneous. It wasn't like, I went to one session, Mike Diller said I should go, and I went to one and everything was better. It's going to take more than one. Now, sometimes people will go to one session and whatever happens there, they start to feel a little bit better, but it's not always the case. Some people then will stay for a few visits with a counselor, for example, or a therapist. Some will stay for, longer. It all depends on, each person. So Daryl, you've shared your story. There have been pieces that I've shared even of my own here in our 9 innings together. But it's, this is one thing that we also know. Each one of us, and we've talked about this, we all have a story that we live and we tell, and that's unique to each one of our own personal life and our journey. So, but it's a great point. Sometimes, and probably more times than not, if you walk into your first session and you walk out, you don't necessarily feel this is fantastic, but the same would be true if I went to go see my orthopedic surgeon and my PT for my pulled hamstring or, chronic injury on my hammy, that this is just not, one visit with my PT is not going to make it better, to completion, to make it 100%. One visit. I mean, if it was, my goodness, we would have people lined up down the street for treatment all the time. One visit and everything is better. Well, it doesn't work on the physical side of things like that. Typically, it doesn't work on the kind of the mental health and the emotional side of the coin as well.
That's exactly right. And sports fans are the bulk of our audience. So even if it wasn't an injury, even if you're just talking, like, let's say we're training for the baseball season, do you go and take batting practice once and then you're ready to go? No, it's an everyday thing for months leading up to the start of a season. And much can be the same depending on your situation with your mental health. There's a lot of things that you can do and maybe should do every day as part of your training, whether it's mindfulness or intentional positive thinking or journaling or self-care, making time for yourself, any of those number of things that can be done on your own every day. And then, of course, for many of us, including me, it's regular therapy sessions with a professional. And you can definitely draw the lines for our sports audience. You can draw some of those parallels and metaphors if that helps make sense to people. It does for me.
No, I agree. I mean, it's if I think about just that, those kinds of analogies and those parallels. What happens on the court or the ice or the playing field is very similar to what happens in life off the playing field and the ice and the court. And I think that even with, athletes or just someone who's just trying to take care of themselves physically, if I go to the gym and work out once every 6 months, I am not going to be at my best. So I need to set up a time and a schedule to create time and space to make that a regular kind of habit. Well, the same is true when we work on a kind of an injury. We're trying to rehab that injury. You have to make sure there's a schedule of treatment, a course, a plan. Then you gotta execute that plan. You gotta not just put it on you can't just talk about it. You got to be able to put it in a plan and a schedule and then actually follow through and execute the plan. Well, the same would be on the court if you're drawing up a plan and then go tell the team, go execute this plan. Well, you just don't draw it up on a board one time and say, you guys are good, you go get them. You got to practice. You got to put it on a schedule. You got to rehearse. You got to repeat and use the word regular. Kind of these meetings that you've talked about with Katie on the therapy side. Well, the same would be true on the mental health side of things. It's going to be important to do these things to promote and embrace good mental health, and self-care is a part of that. Now, self-care can mean all kinds of different things. We've talked a little bit about that. It's going to be unique to me. So I'll give you a quick example. So I'm someone who loves playing ice hockey. That's my outlet. I call that my adult play therapy. And, I also love, just more of that kind of high kind of intensity workouts, insanity workouts, things like that. If I'm doing these workouts that really challenge me, this is what I've loved to do. I've also found as I'm getting older that sometimes I can't do some of those things like I used to. My body doesn't cooperate as much as I would have. I still think sometimes I'm in my 20s, even though my body sometimes tells me I'm not. But so I've tried meditation, before. Meditation has not been something that comes naturally to me. And my mind gets very distracted at times, which is natural. It's human. In fact, anyone who has done mindfulness and meditation will talk about, you're going to be distracted. Your thoughts are going to go somewhere else. You need to bring it back here in the moment and slow things down. But I've been so appreciative of that. But I still need to practice that. I still have to work at it. I didn't try meditation once and say, this is it. I can't believe how wonderful that was. It took some time to be able to practice that. And I still do it. I still do it today. So regular practice, make a plan, execute the plan. These are things that we talk about on the court, on the ice, the playing field, but we also talk about it in everyday life.
Absolutely. So I have to go to the gym more than once every 6 months. Now you tell me. That's my problem.
Yeah, that probably a little bit more regular frequency to the gym.
No, but
Your body may feel your body may give you some feedback on that.
Yeah, no doubt. But it absolutely does correlate that way. I think it's a really good parallel to draw.